while we're waiting on kind of final details, how many of y'all are struggling with retaining people or hiring people for that matter? Is that something y'all are dealing with at all, or nobody? Why are you like?
Heartbeat and a degree, you can come work for that.
I mean,
And sometimes.
sadly, that's right. I mean, I know that some of the public sector entities, for instance, fire departments, some police departments, OHP, they've actually lowered standards because the employee pool, Quick Trip, OHP is a great example, or even municipal police departments. Quick Trip pays about $73,000 a year for a security guard. And so you look at that compared to a municipal, Broken Arrow's starting pay for a police officer is about $65,000. Which one are you gonna do, right? And so they said, well, let's back off where it's no longer a 4-year degree, you can go with an associate's degree. So we're seeing a lot of adjustments in the job market. I know some of you, how many of you have unlimited budgets like the Tulsa Public School guys over here? So
Says we don't know.
right. There's a big pot of money in the closet. Do you have found it yet?
You didn't watch the audit?
So, Crystal, I'm familiar with your IT department. How many of you are IT? How many of you are IT departments? Majority, good, okay. And then, of that, how many of you have more than 2 employees in your IT staff? All right, so decent. How many of you have more than 5? Oh, how many of you have more than 10? You guys are having a contest over there now. Okay, so we'll go to 20.
19.
Show off. These show offs. I'm gonna stop there because it's gonna be Tulsa versus VA. It'll be the whole thing again. And they got a gang with them, so you don't wanna fight that, I'm just saying. Hey, so, as y'all know,
We're going the other direction.
so I know there's at least, you're 1, are you a 1? Okay, who else is 1? You are 2? Okay. So we have basically quite a bit of range of spectrum. One of the things that we face in our industry, and obviously we're IT, but it's not unique to us. It's not unique to public sector, not unique to private sector. And what's your first response when somebody says, man, I'm a little bit unhappy, and maybe I'm looking across the fence, the grass is greener. What's been the traditional response to that, right? You assume that they're probably getting an offer for more money. And that may be the case. Sometimes it is. Believe it or not, what we're finding out is it's less about the money than it is about a lot of other things that you probably never would have guessed. And I've done a lot of research and spent a lot of time checking into this. Full transparency, in 2 years, call it 18 months probably, we've lost 9 people to attrition. And those people are hard to replace. Some of these people have been with us for 15, 18 years and have literally hundreds of thousands of dollars of training invested. There's one guy that I can say for sure has over $100,000 invested in his training when he left. He left for a PSO job. Can't compete with the pay, can't compete with it. He made good money with us. I can't compete with them on pay, benefits, retirement. I mean, it just is what it is. So there's some that are gonna leave that you just can't touch. As you know, unless you're Tulsa, you have a limited budget. You can only work with what you've got. I'm gonna keep shooting at y'all all day. That's it's a no attack. But at the end of the day, it's not always about budget. And so that's some of the stuff we found. If we go to the next slide. Who knows what coffee badging is? Oh, you know what it is?
I looked it up before I came.
Ah, come on, that's cheating. All right, what is it?
It's coming in, getting a cup of coffee, badging in so that you're present for the day, and then going home and doing remote work.
Right. So a lot of you guys are smaller in terms of overall numbers of employees, so it'd be really easy to spot that person, right? If they're not there, you're gonna go, where's Bob? So what we're looking at and what we're seeing more in the IT industry is virtual coffee badging. Somebody shows up, they may be sitting there, but they're not sitting there, right? They're not engaged. For whatever reason, they're very unhappy with their job, or even moderately unhappy with their job. And it's not really, doesn't have a lot to do with management. It just has a lot to do with external factors, environmentals, that we typically don't really think a whole lot about. So what we see is people who come in, they show up, they clock in, but they're not really engaged in doing their job. And so what that leads to is, especially if you have some kind of a help desk or some kind of a user/technician environment, the technicians are burned out and the users are unhappy because the technician is just doing just enough to get by, just enough, what I call sticking their head out of the weeds, just long enough to get a paycheck, right? So then you run into what I refer to as virtual help desk. These are all trademark terms that I came up with last night at midnight. No, I'm kidding. What I mean by that is development of AI. So a lot of troubleshooting that maybe, or at least in my experience, what I went through growing up as a weed technician years ago, a lot of things you did, you had some classes, you had some training, but then you learned a lot on the job. You picked up a lot of knowledge just by doing things. And so you had a foundation, but you added to that arsenal and you added to that toolbox just by doing work, just by working with certain things, and you embraced a lot of times a challenge that you especially if you heard, hey, somebody can't do this one thing. And you went, okay, let me have a look at it. And typically you can figure it out and you go, hey man, I didn't get even a pat on the back, but I really have job satisfaction in that. So today, especially with the development of AI, technicians aren't learning troubleshooting skills. Their effective troubleshooting on a scale of 1 to 10 is probably a 3 and rapidly declining. Because a lot of things they're doing, they're either going, what does the manual say, right? And you guys experience that when you call in for your programming of your dishwasher or your flashing coffee pot. Or they go, hey, I'm going to AI the answer to this. And they implement something that maybe appears to resolve someone's issue, but didn't really fix it, right? So let's go to the next one. The other you got is what I call the ticket tidal wave, right? And you have all of you experience this because when everybody else is going on vacation for the summer, especially teens, or Thanksgiving, or how many of you have ever rolled out a district-wide phone system solution that's the first server-based phone system in a particular product line at Thanksgiving in 4 days? I know one district here that did that. You guys jinxed it. 1,800 and something users, and man, it was rough. So the thing that you look at is you guys have breaks and holidays. The teachers, the kids, everybody kind of gets 4 or 5 days off or 3 months off. Not y'all. That's when y'all's workload really starts. And that's when you guys are really in the trenches. And so what's viewed as time off actually becomes, hey, not only do we have this enormous workload because we're trying to fit all these projects into a short period of time, but in addition to that, everything's got a time frame. It's got to be up and running by Monday when we get back from Thanksgiving. It's got to be up and running on January 2nd or whatever that return to school date is. You've all lived this. So then you have basically technicians, you have this black hole that they fall into and they can't find a way out. The users on the end of that have issues. So Monday morning rolls in and you've implemented this new wireless system, and there's all these users on the other end that their edge devices aren't functioning properly, or they didn't log into something the right way, or they somehow turned off the radio on their laptop, whatever it is. And they go, hey, I don't know what happened. And you look at the laptop, oh, the radio switch is flipped off. And you show them, this is what happened. And 5 minutes later, your help desk gets another call, and guess what they did? They bumped it and turned the switch back off. Those kinds of things, basically your technical staff, and whether it's technicians or whether it's just teachers, everybody gets disengaged. They go, man, I hate this. I don't want to do this. One of the guys we lost, he's a tier 4 network guy. This guy was a guru on networks, servers. He knew network configurations, layer 3 networks. He was brilliant. He left our industry altogether. He literally left the technology industry. He made a decision and said, I just hate technology. I don't want anything to do with it ever again. And so those are the kinds of things that these types of environments lead to. All right, so how do we fix that? Well, you're not going to change that your projects are going to hit over the holidays. It's not going to happen, right? That's just reality. You're not going to change that users turn the same radio switch off over and over again, so you're not going to change that either. So what do? You change the response, okay? So what are the solutions? To me, some of the things that we've started to implement and have met with a great deal of success, measurable and achievable analytics. You've got to close the black hole. Nobody is going to do that for you. The users aren't going to wake up tomorrow morning and go, I'm going to stop turning the radio switch off. They're just not going to do it. And so it's up to you to figure out what are the biggest pain points. My suggestion is if you have a ticketing system and you're able to go in and do some analytics, what are the top 3 or 5 calls that we get? And can I avoid those calls? It's unlikely that you can. Okay, then how do I respond to that from a training perspective or a resources perspective? Like, I let my technicians know, this is on my radar. I'm paying attention to you and what's bothering you and what's causing you trouble every day. Whether you see it or not, I'm gonna lay this out in front of you and say, these are the things I see. These are the top 5. Do you agree with me? And they go, these 4, yes, but then there's a 5th one over here. What did you just do? Right? You engage them, you let them know that their opinion is important, and you probably learn something about one of the service issues that you're having in your organization that you may be able to solve for them pretty quick. So that's one of the things that we do is what are the analytics that you're using to find out what your biggest issues are. Environment. Create an environment that encourages teaching and learning within your teams. Give them opportunities to grow. What does that mean? So in our team, if Mark and myself and Colby are sitting there and we're all out on calls and we're wondering, where is Shane? He's not doing anything today. That's just because I wanted to say that about Shane. We wind up on a call, and at the end of the week, so whatever our tech talk that we have, whether it's a Monday morning or Friday afternoon or whatever it looks like, as a manager, as an IT director, I want to sit down with these guys and go, okay, not as a group, individually, hey, tell me some of the issues and challenges you face this week. And then we have a group setting that I go, hey, Mark, I'm going to have you do a knowledge transfer of this troubleshoot, this issue that you had, and I want you to actually put together a quick 5-minute, here's a quick class, 5-minute knowledge transfer to the rest of the team. Okay, so the other thing that I look at is I go, what's another thing that technicians typically are not great at? Social interaction, right? But can they learn? Sure they can. They know what they know because they have the capacity to learn. So in the same setting, you go, what's social transfer? So to me, it's no different than technical knowledge. We were on a sales call down in, what county was that? Not Stillwell. Anyway, southeast Oklahoma somewhere. We're at a county courthouse. One of our salespeople is really struggling trying to communicate bandwidth, and delivery of bandwidth, and how it's this big out here, but this big over here inside the building. And I said, hey, you know what, guys? This is just like a water line. Out here by the street, you got a 10-inch water line. Somewhere between there and here, there's a 2-inch water line. And then when it gets to the water fountain, it's a 1/2-inch water line. So are you still getting water pressure? Yes, but the capacity that's being delivered is diminished by the size of the pipe. They immediately went, oh, we get it, right? And so what I did is I took a social or an environmental, and I trained a salesperson on figure out who you're talking to. What's your audience? In this case, it's going to be your user base. Have them start learning, hey, what are the social interactions I can have with these people to try to help them achieve a successful outcome in what we're trying to resolve for them, right? And the social aspect of that is going to help a lot with the technical people going, I'm frustrated with the fact that this person keeps turning the radio switch off, and this person's going, I don't understand why the radio switch keeps shutting off. Now those two people start to communicate at a different level where they say, hey, let me show you something. Can I put a piece of black tape over this? Whatever it is, right? But there's a way for them to identify, here's the real issue. To me, as your technicians work on calls, they should be talking back and forth to each other. Obviously, you have a ticketing system where they go back and review each other's notes for if there's a recurring issue. But at the same time, there's a lot of things that don't get put into the notes because it just takes forever to type them out. So they should be having periodic meetings, whether it's once a week, once every 2 weeks, and transferring that information to each other, right? It's just like a database, but it's just verbal communication. We're lacking heavily on that in our industry today. Let's go to the next one. Anybody got any questions so far? All right, I've got a question. Whoever answers it right wins a prize. What is the average attendance at a Broken Arrow High School football game?
Like a specific number?
Yeah, how many attendance?
300.
All right, he wins the prize. It's way off. I don't even know what the right answer is, but he took a shot at it. So we give you one of these. Is that one of the batteries? Yeah, this is actually a legit prize too. Yeah, this is one of those. Whatever the charger, the battery thing. I need one, but they won't give me one. I just want
Too expensive.
Thanks. All right, so what are some of your limitations with retention? Budget, as we've talked about. You've only got so much budget. you have a boss who has a boss who has a boss, and somewhere it lands in front of the superintendent. My suggestion is to have a conversation with the boss and say, listen, is there any way that I can go stand in front of the school board at any meeting that we're talking about budget and just present our case? Here are some of the issues I deal with that are budgetary issues. Is it going to fix anything or get you more money? Maybe. Okay, you don't know till you ask. But even if it doesn't, even if you know going into it, man, I'm just not gonna get the budget. Now you can go back to your team and say, guys, listen, I went to bat for you. I tried. Like some people go, yeah, but politically it makes the school board look bad. You're worried about your team and what their perception of what you think of their job performance and how you feel about them. And you being willing to go to bat for them and just say, man, I went and tried to, and you may come out successful where you get another $30,000 a year to distribute to your team. So again, I think we have to change how we think, and the things that traditionally we've said, these don't ever work. I can't ever get this to happen. I think we have to say, listen, the norm, what I'm doing is not working anymore. I need to do something different. And again, that's part of showing your commitment. Demonstrate to your employees and your clients being the users, make this a team concept. So have periodic meetings with your techs and your user groups, whether it be by, in Jinx's case, whether it be like, here's East Elementary Building A, and you have a transfer where you just have a quick little get together, and the techs say, here's some of the biggest issues we see across the district. If you're experiencing these are the ways that we fix this. Anybody got any questions? Those types of interactions will build relationships between what we call the client and the technician, and it will, again, it strengthens the relationship where your outcomes are going to be a lot more successful. Measure success. Measure success by outcomes. Fixing a user problem allows them to be successful. Follow up in a positive manner, ask the user how this helped them, and use it as a knowledge transfer. So in other words, if the user's having an issue getting a smart board to function correctly, and they've got some kind of testing that's coming up or something that they have to accomplish in the classroom, you get the issue resolved. Later on, you circle back to them after their stress level's down and say, hey, how did that help you in terms of helping you be successful in whatever your job was that day or whatever you were trying to accomplish that day? Have your team start to ask questions like that, and I would advise you to have them put a little note about that in the ticket, in the resolution of the ticket. Say this allowed so-and-so to be successful in this manner, right? You change your environment, you change the way people interact, and what that's doing is it's building a confidence and an appreciation level in your technical staff where it's not so easy for them to go, I found more money somewhere else. Yeah, but did they find the job satisfaction? Did they find the level of their input or their value? One of the things we hear as a small company is guys come to us from bigger companies and say, listen, there's a lot of big companies out there I can go to work for, but I don't have a direct impact on the bottom line like I can here. And that's what you're having the technicians showing them. You have the ability to have a direct impact on what you consider your bottom line just by taking a few steps and just by having some communication with the user. Affirmation, right? Affirm their worth as a person. Besides money and benefit-based value, define the qualities that make that person a strong team member. How many of you know that you're going to have people that you say, hey, if I put this guy and put a wrench in his hand, but he knows how to use a screwdriver, he's never used a wrench, he's probably not going to be real successful in that. So what we do is we identify, and I know a lot of you as managers identify, here's where somebody's strengths are. I'm going to put them in this groove where I'm really going to operate within their strengths and put them in a good place to succeed. If I can't do that, if I can't put them in a place to succeed, that's on me. That's my fault. That's not their fault. When they fail at tasks that I didn't give them the resources or the environment to be successful in, so learn how to identify that in your people and then affirm that within them. Man, you are fantastic at communicating resolutions to customers. Would you be sort of a front person for us? I mean, all of those different things play into employee retention. You now establish their worth, not just for themselves, but within the organization. This is where you bring value to us as a team. And not just your team as technical staff, the team as a whole, like our user base and everybody. Avoid transactional relationships. Who knows what that is? I actually learned this term last night. Yes, sir.
It's basically you only do it because it benefits you in some way.
It's like a contractual deal. Yeah. So like you agreed to take this much an hour, you work this many hours, we paid you this much, the contract is complete, right?
Yeah.
And there are some people who manage that way. I was talking to a guy who actually was a college roommate of my son's, and we ran across him in the Dallas airport last night. And as we're talking, he works for a global company right now, has a really, really good job, pays very well. He's actually pretty happy with where he works, and pretty satisfied with the job. And then he said something about, he's been kind of looking across the fence. I thought, wow, this may play into my talk tomorrow. And I said, walk me through why is that? What's driving you to that? And he said, well, honestly, he said, I really feel like my position here is just transactional. And I went, okay, what does that mean? I wanted him to say, what does that mean to you? He said, I come to work, I do the job that they have on my job description, and I go home, but if I didn't show up tomorrow, the only transaction they're gonna worry about is who's gonna do that job now. Like me as a person and what my goals and my efforts are trying to achieve in my professional career mean nothing to this company. It's just, hey, here's your job description, go do this job, nobody cares. So to me, if we can avoid having our people feel like our relationship as employee-employer is transactional, where it's nothing more than just, I need somebody to do this job, how much are you gonna charge me for it? All right, let's go on down the road. As I thought about that, I thought, you know what? I think that's what has made our company, VIP, as successful as we have been, is the fact that we don't treat relationships like transactional relationships in a vendor-customer setting either. We try to follow up with, hey, not just, hey, how many kids do you have? What are your hobbies? What all those different things. But we try to follow up from a relational standpoint and talk through, here's some of the issues you see. And we have, I know with Jinx and with Broken Arrow too, with Ali, we have some really open conversations that are not viewed as confrontational. They're viewed as a partnership. And really, that's what we need as a company. That's what differentiates. What we sell is a commodity, right? You can find probably 5 other people, 10 other people out there that pretty much do the same thing we do. It's that we provide service at a different level, and it's customized, it's streamlined, all those catchphrases that you want to hear. But at the end of the day, it's the relationship part of that service that keeps customers tied to us. And so what we try to do now is go, okay, then as an employer, how can I implement that same level of relationship where it doesn't feel transactional anymore? It feels like, man, we truly are a partnership, and if you're not winning, I'm not winning, right? And so, and we work out what is the formula for both of us to win look like. So that's about it. The extent, I think that's the last slide, isn't it? All right. Anybody have any questions or thoughts?